Welcome everybody. We'll just do quick introductions. So item number one is welcome and introductions, and I'm Laura Isdell with Collin College, and my co-chair, I'll let her introduce.
Dara Newton with the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Good morning, everyone.
And today is May 29th, 2025. Right now it is 10:04 a.m. And so I'm calling the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee meeting to order. Before we begin, we do have a few guests joining us today, and we'd like to take a moment to welcome the members of the coordinating board staff. Dr. Brandon Griggs, the new Assistant Commissioner of College and Career Advising. Jaslyn Rose, Senior Director of Learning Operations and Delivery. Laura, I'm not sure I'll say it correct, but Guigan? She'll tell us later.
It's Guigan. Yes.
Okay. Senior Director of Advising Partnerships. Claudette Jenks, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships. Ronit Shaham, Product Manager for ApplyTexas. And Anne-Marie Scarborough, Education Technology Program Manager with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Dr. Griggs, would you like to start by saying a few words?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am new in the role. I've been in this role for 3 weeks now, so I'm still getting a grasp on everything. But just to let y'all know, I'm very excited to work with you all. I come from A&M Central Texas, so and the university environment, and really excited to be a part of this group. I do want to thank you all for your service and commitment to the advisory committee. I know how busy it can get and hectic on our campuses. So you just carving out time for this, we are very appreciative. And I know here just recently, I received the subcommittee report on looking at some of the application questions and how they're used. And so I think, you know, activities like that, when y'all invest your time and commitment and just how thorough you are, is something that we really do appreciate here at the coordinating board. So definitely excited to be a part of the group and help in any way I can. Thank you.
Awesome. And again, welcome. We're next going to do the roll call of committee members, and we're going to do it just like we did last time. So if everyone can make sure and take out their list of members, and we're going to go from left to right with myself being first and then Dara, but we'll do introductions. So I'll go first, and just if you'll say your name and your institution and your title when you introduce yourself. So Laura Isdell, Collin College, AVP for Internal Communications.
Dara Newton, the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, Senior Associate Vice President for Access and Outreach.
And then we'll skip to Tessie.
Tessie Bradford, Lamar State College, Port Arthur, and I serve as the Dean of Student Services.
I'm Katrina Brent, Vice President, Enrollment Management and Marketing at Lamar University.
Hi, I'm Megan Brinks. I'm our Dean of Recruitment and Student Aid. I just had a title update a little bit ago with Midland College.
Shelby Claridge, A&M Central Texas, Assistant Director of Admissions Processing.
Good morning, Jorge Dimas, Director of Admissions at Laredo College.
Good morning, Jamie Hansard, Vice President of Enrollment Management at Texas Tech University.
Maria, I don't think is on. So we can go to Mary.
Good morning. I'm Mary Pascarella, Associate Director of Graduate Admissions at Sam Houston State University.
And I don't think Crystal is on, so we can, is Stephanie? I don't think Stephanie is either, so Michael.
Michael Sanders, Associate Vice President of Enrollment at the University of North Texas.
And then I don't think Andrea is.
Good morning, Christine.
Oh, okay, go, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Christine Velasquez, Director of Admissions and Recruitment over at the University of Texas at El Paso.
Thank you for being on it. And then
Good morning. I'm here for Miguel Vasilevsky. I'm Raymond Blakely, AVP for admissions here at the University of Texas at Austin.
Thank you.
Good morning, Lou Waterhouse, Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services, Lone Star College.
And I don't think I see our student, but I do think I saw Felicia. So let's go back. I'm sorry for skipping you, Felicia. We'll go back to you and then David.
Is it Felicia Turner you're speaking of?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm Felicia Turner, Associate Dean at Dallas College.
Hi, I'm Dave. Sorry.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I am David Barron, Vice President of Enrollment Management at the University of Texas at Tyler.
Awesome. It's my last time doing this. You can't expect me to have gotten it right by the end, but I did
No
try.
worries. I did want to mention also Connie Coleman is on the call. I don't know if we got Connie.
I'm Connie Coleman, and I am the Director of Admissions Processing. Sorry, Admissions Operations. Changed the name at Texas A&M University, College Station.
Thank you, Connie. All right, so we definitely have a quorum present. And since we're meeting virtually today, we're going to review some meeting guidelines to just help us manage the meeting for today. As a reminder, this is an open meeting. It's being broadcast for the public and being recorded for later viewing. Please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. As I said, a quorum has already been established via roll caller. As a reminder, if you're substituting for another committee member, you are unable to vote if a vote is needed. In order to keep quorum, you must keep your camera on at all times. If you're not visible and we are no longer a quorum, we will have to stop the meeting. There will be time for breaks as needed, but please be sure to return promptly to proceed with committee business. To manage the committee discussion via Zoom, please mute or unmute and identify yourself prior to speaking for the record. We ask that you wait for one person to finish speaking. Otherwise, the comments can get muddled or unclear. Should the conversation be unmanageable, we'll direct you to use the raise hand feature. And this can be found if you click on the participants icon, you'll see the 3 buttons at the bottom of the list. And then you'll just raise and lower your hand after you've had time to speak. And we're only going to use that feature if needed. So we may not need it. For this meeting, when the committee will vote on items, motions will be voted on by raising your hand in the camera and saying aye in favor or no opposed. So just like that. And then at the end of the meeting, please be aware that the meeting is still being recorded. Upon adjournment, we ask you that to please keep your comments limited so staff can actually stop the recording. Any questions before we move on to the next item? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the next agenda item.
We will be moving on to agenda item number 2, approval of the minutes from February 27th, 2025. In the meeting materials, you should find those minutes. Take a few minutes to review and let us know if there are any changes or edits. So I'll pause for a few minutes while you take a review of those.
All right, I'd like to motion to approve the minutes.
I already making sure there's no changes first, David, but I heard you, so I will keep that in mind. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion for approval made by David Barron. Is there a second?
I second.
Shelby? Okay.
Yeah.
Shelby, is it Claridge?
Yes.
Has seconded the motion. Okay, members, those of you in favor, please show your hands in the screen. Okay. And if there are any that are opposed, please unmute and say no at this time. Okay, Motion passes, and we will move on to agenda item number 3.
Item 3 is recognition of members completing their terms. This is the last meeting for members whose term ends in August 2025. And so I'm going to turn it over to Claudette to recognize the members and share a few words. Claudette?
Yes, thank you guys. So we do have a few members who will be ending their term today. They are Tessie Bradford, Katrina Brent, Jamie Hansard, our 2-year co-chair, Laura Esdale, Mary Pascarella, Michael Sanders, and Miguel Wachaleski. I hope I said that right for the very last time. Thank you for confirming. So we want to thank you all for your contributions and feedback while serving on the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee. Your service has really helped the ApplyTexas team continue to improve and enhance the redesigned ApplyTexas system. So we hope you will continue to help us and share your expertise as we continue our work for improvement. I do want to recognize a special shout out to Laura Isdale. I know when she took on this role, it was a little bit of a nudge for her, but I really want to thank you for leading our meetings, providing recommendations and insight, and letting us sort of work with you and be flexible on picking your brain to talk through a couple of things offline. So we greatly appreciate you and your service, and greatly appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you for your service. And as Dr. Grigg said earlier, we do recognize this is a time away from the work that you do, but it is very important. So we do appreciate all the support you've given us in serving on this advisory committee and for all you do for our students in Texas. So we do have these positions open that will be available for the fall semester. As you guys know, this is our last meeting for the academic year. We will reconvene in the fall. The coordinating board did solicit nominations at the end of April, and those nominations were due May 23rd. So we have received some nominations for members that will fill these positions, that these individuals that are cycling off. We're in the process of reviewing those nominations now, and staff will be sending those new selected members to the board for approval in the July board meeting. So those members will be notified once they are approved. I'll go ahead and turn it over back to our co-chairs for the next agenda item.
Thank you, Claudette. We'll be moving on to agenda item number 4, updates on the ApplyTexas system. The ApplyTexas team continues to resolve reported issues and implement enhancements to improve the functionality of the ApplyTexas applicant, administrative, and counselor suite portals. We'll turn it over to Ronit, product manager for ApplyTexas, who will provide the latest updates to the ApplyTexas system and fraud prevention. Ronit?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So in today's product update, I'm going to be reviewing our recent development sprints, previewing upcoming work, and addressing any questions you might have on the most recent updates. We're also going to discuss fraud prevention and get updates on the ApplyTexas help desk. Lastly, we're going to ask for your feedback on several features on the site. So we'll start with Sprint 5, which was deployed back in April. We focused on both applicant-facing and admin features. On the applicant side, we resolved issues like address validation errors and updated field validations in the About You section. We also made it easier for students to track applications by adding the application ID to the top of the post-submission page. For admins, we introduced EDI download functionality. It was initially limited to 1,000 results, but we have since updated that feature. We also prevented multiple counselor accounts from being created using the same email by removing a case sensitivity rule in the counselor suite. Moving on to Sprint 6, which was deployed on May 13th. In Sprint 6, we added security and validation updates to the applicant portal. A key security update was the implementation of reCAPTCHA on the password reset page. This will help prevent any brute force attacks or bots from accessing user accounts. We also addressed user experience issues like capitalized emails causing validation errors, and we improved high school selection options by limiting U.S. schools and showing the city and state data for each school. Continuing for Sprint 6, we made several admin portal improvements, including the ability to filter saved but not submitted applications by date and removing the limit on application downloads. Lastly, we improved the user permission search and added delete functionality for ESC representatives in the counselor suite. Here I'm going to show a couple of examples of some of the features we deployed. So here's the updated high school selection dropdown where you can see the city and state are visible, helping eliminate any ambiguity. We're also limiting the list to only US schools rather than including a full list of international high schools. Next, you can see the updated design of the application search page, where you are able to download all applications in EDI format, CSV, and JSON without limitation. So we are aware of the pain that the initial limitation caused, but this has all been resolved, and you should be able to download it without limitation. Next, looking ahead to Sprint 7, which is scheduled for deployment on June 12th, we're focusing on refining validation logic and fixing UI inconsistencies. This includes better validation in the education and testing sections, more intuitive place of birth selections, and updates to the term list within the Texas residency questions. In the admin portal, we're adding the ability to review the application screener questions alongside the core questions submitted applications. This should help admins and help our help desk troubleshoot potential mistakes in the application types. Also, we'll be addressing the optional deadline 3 bug, which prevented schools from updating applications. Lastly, we're fixing the issue where the term dropdown comes up empty when editing majors, essays, and scholarship. Here again is a quick preview into the new design of place of birth. You can see that the initial experience includes a drop-down, including city, state, and country, supporting both US and international locations, but at the same time allowing users to override that value and entering their own city of birth in case they were not able to find it in the drop-down list. This will hopefully help eliminate a lot of the mistakes we're seeing coming in from the existing interface in this field. And last but not least, as far as our development sprints, wanted to give you a quick look at our upcoming sprint schedule. So as I mentioned, Sprint 7 is on track for June 12th, followed by Sprint 8 in mid-July and Sprint 9 in late August. We'll continue addressing issues and enhancing functionality based on user feedback and data insights. Next, I'll be discussing fraud prevention. We know that fraud prevention is a critical part of the ApplyTexas platform. As we continue to track any signs of automation in the application process, fraudulent activity can appear in multiple parts of the application pipeline, and it takes a layered approach to address it effectively. So let me start by outlining where we might see fraud attempts in the application process on ApplyTexas. So we have the account creation and access. This is often the first entry point for bad actors. They may create multiple fake accounts using stolen or synthetic identities, or try to gain unauthorized access to real accounts. We've implemented tools to reduce the risk of bots and brute force attacks. These tools help ensure that real humans are accessing the system and flag any unusual login behaviors. The next part of the pipeline we're looking into is the form submission. Fraud can occur in the form of falsified personal information, fabricated academic histories, duplicated applications submitted under different identities. One indicator of potential fraud is unusually fast submission times. which may suggest automated form filling bots. We're monitoring those patterns to assess whether we need to block submissions based on certain thresholds. As we continue to build out ApplyTexas, we want to make sure we're staying ahead of the curve. So we'd like to get your insights. Here are some of the questions that we have. Where along the pipeline are you encountering the most fraud? Are there any specific tools or workflows that have worked well at your institution? And then lastly, are there any pain points where more verification could help without creating barriers for legitimate applicants? So I'll open it up for the group. Maybe we can give it a few minutes for you guys to think or come up with any comments or questions about fraud prevention.
I'll chime in if nobody else is. So Laura Isdell, Collin College. I think for us, we do a lot to pre-screen all of the data. I think in terms of like an Excel report, we review addresses, contact information. Because we're a community college, it's unusual to see out of state or out of country, although we have a large out of country population. So like those would be flags to cause us to do more in-depth research. We do as in-depth as reviewing to see if the addresses are valid and legitimate addresses, Google search, Zillow searches, things like that. Where it's the most alarming is when it comes to financial aid. And we're just like you're saying, we see people, they're legitimately people creating it. It's not just a robot. And when we're asking them to do verification of identity, they'll do as much as take a picture of themselves right now, create their driver's license, send me a picture of themselves next to their fake driver's license in the same outfit, same hair, same look, and then submit it as I am, in fact, the person that I've told you that I've submitted. So it's actually become the biggest issue related to financial aid and trying to verify and validate their identity when it comes to that.
Thank you. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, like as I mentioned, we were wondering where in the pipeline it happens, and we are seeing that there's a lot more human interaction with that, more than actual bots that are trying to create accounts. So it makes it, as you said, a lot more of a hands-on process that can be fully automated. Thank you.
Ronit, this is Maria from Amarillo College. And I think you already mentioned the fact that some are using duplicated information as from multiple identities. That's one thing that we've noticed is that we can sometimes in a single batch of applications receive up to 8 or 9 applications with the exact same phone number. And even if they live in different states. We also see a lot of local Texas addresses, maybe not local, but in Texas that have what appear to be international numbers or numbers well outside of our service area, which is not completely uncommon, but we'll definitely see people who claim to be longtime residents of Texas based on the residency information, and then they might have a main area code phone number. Is there I have explored a couple of photo identification systems. There's one that has AI that allows for the photo ID submission stuff. It will actually compare and try to decrypt the photo submitted by the applicant and cross-check it against a valid government issued ID. So this is actually embedded in the software. Because right now schools are trying to validate identities, and it can be difficult with students who are not local to our area, other than making them come in person and show a photo ID. Like Laura just said, sometimes they'll try to submit fraudulent socials, fraudulent driver's license, fraudulent transcripts. But the ID component, if there was a way that they could submit a picture of themselves and upload a government issued ID that could be validated by some sort of AI, that's what we're looking into for Amarillo College. It's just something we're exploring, but it'd be really nice if there could be something like that implemented at the point of application.
Thank you.
This is Megan Brinks from Midland College. Definitely agreeing with everything that Maria and Laura are saying. It's just becoming a very manual process. We have one person who actually looks at every single application that we get, because then she's noticing patterns. And we found that that's just has to happen. One question, something that, because we do use ApplyTexas and we do have a local app, and something that we're able to do with our local app is have the IP address from where they applied. And that was something that we were curious if that's something that is captured with ApplyTexas, and if we could have access to that. It's still, our initial thought is that it's still part of the manual process, but then the ability to compare, it wouldn't be foolproof, but if their IP address matches where they say they're from, we're spending a lot of time on Zillow, a lot of time looking for, is that house for sale? Things like that. So it's just becoming pretty manual, but the IP address, I didn't know if that was possible.
That's really good feedback. I sorry, don't believe this is something we track right now, but it's something I could definitely bring to our development team for consideration. I don't see why there would be any limitations to that. So it could be something as easy as, just including that as part of the applicant information, but we'll definitely look into it. That's a great idea. Thank you.
This is Mary at Sam Houston State University. Like everybody else has said, unless we take the extra effort to manually check the data loads, which is difficult to do because we load into a Banner student information system, so we'd have to pull some sort of report. But I have noticed that the false applications that we have found have had slightly off last names. So we checked them in Forebears, which is like a genealogy type of website, and the names just don't exist.
That's really interesting. Thank you for that.
This is Laura Isdell again. Sorry. I just one more comment that I thought of with the social security number piece. I know it's not a required field, but in terms of our ICER loads, my understanding is that they are able to validate that the social security number provided is accurate. And because our team manages all of our duplicate record in terms of inbound data, we see a ton of suspended records that are coming from the ICER, which we're told has been validated social security number, but it is not matching the application that's already loaded. So I don't know if there would be a way on the ApplyTexas application to somehow verify that that is their valid social security number. Maybe not, because we're not connected to the same things, but if there was, that would be an improvement as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting, also something interesting to look into, if there is an API somewhere we can tap into that can help us validate the social security. I'm not too familiar with how the rules are, but yeah, I'm assuming that there's got to be a few fields that you can use to match it if there is a public social security for that. So yeah, thank you. This is Maria again. Just as I don't know if any of you all have experienced this, but we have started to receive photocopies of social securities that do appear to be fraudulent. If you pull it up in a like Adobe Reader that's editable or Nitro that's editable, you can actually pull the name and the social security number off of the original document. So it highlights which components are editable.
And surprisingly enough, or not so much, it's the name, the number, and the signature. So just FYI, we have definitely already begun to see fraudulent Social Security numbers being submitted to us. So students are definitely going that extra step to try to validate information once we alert them to concerns about their applications.
Yeah, sounds like they are going to great lengths to, and I'm assuming that the main goal is to tap into financial aid money. Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
It would appear to be at this time. Initially, I
Mhm.
think a lot of schools thought that they were just mass trying to get like Google accounts, but I think we're well beyond that with the submission of transcripts
Mhm.
um and test scores and social security cards.
Mhm. Got it. Thank you so much. This is very illuminating. Does anyone else have any other questions or any other comments before we?
Yes, Christine
Okay, yeah.
Velasquez with
Sure.
Utah.
Mhm.
I just wanted to ask if you could keep in mind when you're looking at ways to, provide more verification that here in our area, we are in a border community, so we do have students who are Texas residents but do have numbers from Mexico.
Mhm.
So just if we could be mindful of that population so that we don't
Course.
create any barriers for them, please.
Yes, like yeah, as I mentioned, there is a fine line we have to walk without blocking any legitimate applicants, right? If it's phone numbers, any identification. So it's about really trying to weed out the most consistent use cases that and also if we're not completely eliminating the manual effort that you're putting in, at least providing the tools for you, like, the IP or any kind of alerts, rather than necessarily blocking them, but providing some sort of analysis to help you make those final calls. So yeah, I totally get this comment. Thank you.
I forget who made the comment early on. This is Connie Coleman from Texas A&M, but we have noticed on the fraudulent apps that the phone numbers are typically international and they are typically claiming to be a resident of Texas. So there'll be an international phone number, maybe an international address, Texas high school. So a lot isn't lining up initially. So I don't know if, there's a way to, I don't know, even a pop-up warning or something. Um, just so that legitimate applicants, if they're putting in something incorrectly, I don't know, but.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's a lot about giving the tools to make better analysis rather than having to dig through the data one by one, rather than programmatically blocking certain applicants based on these rules.
So one additional thought, Laura, is Del Collin College I would be curious to know if the people we've identified as fraudulent have also submitted applications at all of the other institutions. And so it might be worth at least some of us or all of us, if we have a way to share back, here are the applicants that we've identified, to see if it is that they are applying at multiple institutions. I'd be curious to know that, and I don't know if that would then inform an additional strategy for identifying or flagging them.
Mm-hmm. Right. I will be curious to look into that and seeing what we can do as far as privacy. But there might be ways we can create some sort of rating or grading and flag the ones that seem suspicious on our end, and kind of then take it to the next step. But yeah, I am curious to know how we can handle the privacy aspect of that. But that's a good perspective to look into.
Okay. Thank you, Ronnie. That was a really good conversation. Just make sure there's no other questions before we move on.
Was just
okay. Go ahead,
wondering
Ronnie.
if there are any questions regarding the recent sprints, and thank you, Dara. Yeah.
Yes.
Opening up the floor for questions on the most recent sprint development. I know we had a very thoughtful conversation, so you might have already forgot about our recent sprint updates, but if there's anything still open, anything you would like to discuss from the sprint 5 and 6 deployments, I'm happy to answer, or any of the upcoming sprints.
This is Maria from Amarillo College. I just have a quick question. I know one of the tickets that I had submitted was addressed in that sprint. It was the capitalizations in the emails. I know that that was causing students an issue. One of the other things that high schoolers reported to us was that they would have to go in and type in their name multiple times, and it would take the counselors several attempts to figure out that what was actually wrong was there was a space put in after the name. Do you know if that was also addressed as part of the sprint?
I don't believe that the name was addressed in the sprint. If there is a help desk ticket submitted for that, we probably have addressed that, or at least submitted into our development backlog. So I will have to go back and look into that. But yeah, I'm happy to take it offline with our help desk team.
Okay.
The
The only reason I asked, because I think some of the high schools have kind of really figured it out, but the other concern was that it didn't really tell them what was wrong. So it would let them, move on, next page. And it wasn't until they tried to submit at the end that it would pop them back to that page. And at that point, it would show them which field had issues, but it didn't really quite explain what the problem was. So they had to try different things to figure out that, okay, this is actually the problem. So if it gets resolved, then there's no need to put any notifications about why it's bringing them back to that. But if it can't be resolved, then at least some sort of message as to why they're being brought back to that page or to that particular field, so they can at least know how to fix it.
Oh, absolutely. And do you happen to know if those spaces happen anywhere in the name, or
just at the end of the name?
At the end. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a valid concern. Thank you.
Christine Velasquez with the University of Texas at El Paso again. Quick question, and maybe I missed it. Do we have a test environment so we can practice submitting apps with our teams yet, or?
So this is something that is definitely on our radar. We're looking, it's on our development backlog, still very much in review and scoping phase. So unfortunately, we're aware that this is something that you would like to have for the upcoming application cycle. It's probably not going to be available quite that fast, but this is something we're definitely looking to provide in the near future as we're getting ready for subsequent cycles. But yeah, thank you for following up on that.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other question, I'll pass it back to Tara. And thank you, everyone. This was great feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. There was a lot of conversation there. We will now turn it over to Anne Marie Scarborough, who will share information from the help desk support. Anne Marie?
Thank you, Dara. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today about the ApplyTexas Help Desk. So I want to start off by saying that the ApplyTexas Help Desk has a policy where we're supposed to triage or respond to new tickets within a 5 business day window. And I want to start off by acknowledging that the Help Desk has not always met this goal of responding to or triaging tickets within the 5 business day window. We understand the importance of timely communication, especially in a system that supports your critical work, and we sincerely appreciate your patience and continued collaboration while we work to improve the system. So since the ApplyTexas system cutover on July 7th of 2024, the Help Desk has received over 48,440 tickets, and we've successfully completed over 46,144 tickets. While this volume reflects the high level of engagement from our users and the essential nature of the support we provide, at the same time, it's clearly shown us where our internal processes need to improve to better meet our service expectations. So in response, we've implemented several targeted process improvements aimed at increasing consistency in our response times. These changes are already helping us better align with the 5 business day window and enhancing our overall support experience for users. So now on the screen, you'll see a snapshot of the applicant and admin tickets that we've received since the ApplyTexas cutover in July of 2024. This gives us a clear picture of the volume that we're managing and how it's informed the changes that we've made. I'd now like to show y'all a snapshot of the applicant portal tickets that we've received during the month of May, broken down by the categories that users can select when they're submitting a help desk form. And as we can see on the screen, the majority of tickets that we've received in May for students revolve around accessing their account or completing an application with their school. Now I'd like to show you a snapshot of the admin portal tickets that we received in May, broken down by the categories available when submitting a help desk form as an admin. So for tickets that remain in progress, please know that this typically indicates the issue is either under active technical investigation or it's scheduled for resolution in an upcoming maintenance update, depending on its complexity. Some examples of tickets that may remain in progress for a little bit due to ongoing technical review include issues related to the EDI files, the Quick and Easy application, or Texas residency logic. So for any institutions that would like to submit an enhancement or change request to the ApplyTexas system, please use the official ApplyTexas change request form, and we will follow up with this form for everyone after this meeting. This form is managed by our product team, and since the help desk is unable to track or manage change requests, we kindly ask that you use this form when submitting any new requests or modifications to existing features in ApplyTexas. I want to thank you again. We remain fully committed to improving our responsiveness, transparency, and communication. So thank you for this opportunity to share this update about the ApplyTexas Help Desk and for your continued collaboration as we move forward. Are there any questions? And I'm going to open it up to the group now just to see if there's any in general questions about the help desk that you'd like to ask. If you have specific questions on a ticket, I will kindly ask that you respond back to that case, and our agents will follow up after this meeting. But if you have any in general questions or topics that you'd like to address, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Before we move on, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was able to see the screen and the presentation. Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Okay. Anne Marie, I don't hear any questions on your part, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to Claudette, who will provide an overview of the ApplyTexas communication strategy. Claudette?
Thank you. So as you recall in our last meeting, we did go over a communication strategy. I wanted to give you an update on our efforts to improve communications. So first and foremost, the coordinating board staff and the Apply Texas team does strive to communicate updates and maintenance as timely as we possibly can. We do recognize that not all of our stakeholders receive those outgoing emails that we send they don't receive them in a timely fashion. To improve communications about when there are system maintenances, any system maintenance or any system outages, we've added a new section to the redesigned ApplyTexas website. We've put it on here as ApplyTexas system status. The intent of this section is really for our internal staff to quickly provide any system updates here, so that if you experience any issues on ApplyTexas, that you can quickly come to this website and check to see if there's any outages. And this is where we'll be able to provide notices and updates and let you know when if there are any issues, when they may be resolved. So we'll have this status update right now. You can see that there are no current issues. So, but if you continue experiencing any issues, if, just kind of clearing cache, that's been something that we recognize has been successful for some. But if there are any issues, you can always go to the ApplyTexas to submit a request. But we did recognize that if the system is down, you are unable to do so. So that's why we wanted to go ahead and put here that we would be sort of giving that update on this website, on the redesigned ApplyTexas website. So we also, in addition to this ApplyTexas system status, we also want to remind you that we are going to continue doing hosting those ApplyTexas Lunch and Learn series after each scheduled maintenance update. As a reminder, those Lunch and Learns are open to all stakeholders. They provide that overview, somewhat like what Renee shared with you. It gives an update of all the maintenance issues that occurred or what was done in the maintenance period. It also provides a demo of any of the new features or enhancements that were done, and also gives staff an opportunity to share what's next on the roadmap. So we will continue to also email that full list of the updates to anyone who's been receiving our notifications. And in those updates, there is a recording of the Lunch and Learn for later viewing. So just know that we'll continue to do that as we have our scheduled maintenance updates. So are there any questions?
I'm sorry, I am very much playing catch up. But I kind of expected the ApplyTexas enhancement requests to be on this page under resources, but
Yeah,
am I just missing it, or
No, you're a good point. We do not currently have this available on our website, mainly because it is really for our institutional partners to utilize. So the intent is for us to add it to the admin portal. And that does have to go into a sprint. So that's where we'll be moving to. So in the meantime, as Henry mentioned, we'll be emailing that enhancement request out to our stakeholders. And of course, whenever we do receive any help desk request about enhancements, that will be sent to them directly as well.
Thank you, Claudette. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll turn it back over to our co-chairs.
Okay, thank you, Claudette. We are going to move on to agenda number 5, and I'll turn it back over to Laura.
Thank you, Dara. All right, item 5 is our core questions subcommittee update and discussion. You guys might recall that in the February meeting, we asked the coordinating board staff asked the committee members for 5 volunteers to establish a core questions subcommittee. That subcommittee was to examine all the core questions in ApplyTexas and determine if they reflect the most recent federal guidelines and how they're used for admissions decisions. It also included a representation from 2- and 4-year colleges. We want to say thank you first to Shelby, Jorge, myself, Maria, and Mary for volunteering to serve on that subcommittee and for the review of the core questions. It was super fun. And on March 27th, that subcommittee got together, discussed the core questions in the About You and Household sections. Then we met again on April 16th and reviewed and discussed the core questions for Texas residency, activity and achievements, and the education and testing sections. We reviewed each section of the core questions utilizing guiding questions during the work session, and we're asked to keep in mind if we should keep the question, how that question is used to evaluate applicants for admissions, the impact of that question if it were to be removed, and recommendations for logic changes. The coordinating board staff then compiled the notes from each session and each individual institution, and we have a couple high-level summary items we want to share with this group. So in summary, as a result of that group, we shared that most of the core questions were used in one of the four following ways: either admission and residency determination, to match duplicate records and reconcile repeat applicants, for state or institutional reporting purposes, or for F1 international student admissions. And so then I want to also review some key considerations and recommendations. So for our key considerations, we thought it was important that to make sure and share that institutions use different vendors and multiple platforms to collect applicant information, and they don't always align. Some questions are not necessary until after admission. For example, maybe the family obligations section is required but not needed at the time of admission. Subcommittee members noted applicants are hesitant to provide too much information on the application, fearing that might mess up their financial aid. All questions were provided to the subcommittee and not broken down by applicant type, which did make it difficult to provide feedback on some of the questions. The subcommittee also expressed interest in having the core questions broken out into the relevant applicant types. So there would be like questions presented to international applications versus 2-year versus 4-year returning student, etc. Some recommendations that came out of the group based on the discussion and analysis of the notes. One was the legacy site had a whole parent section, and the subcommittee recommends that the parent section be broken out into subsections to allow institutions more customization to pick which questions they want to add or remove. To determine what questions are not useful at the time of admissions, i.e. financial aid questions, about where resources can be provided after admission to consider removing those items. Create a 2-year international application for F1 applicants. For several of the irrelevant questions are displayed to several irrelevant questions are currently displayed to 2-year applicants. So we recommended updating the application to only display relevant questions. 5, allow schools to make emergency contact customizable and add language or a tooltip to ensure applicants do not list themselves as their house emergency contact. 6, community colleges don't really use the activity and achievement sections, or at least those represented on that committee. But we did think it could use some revisions. The subcommittee would like the ability to customize or hide that section as relevant for the institution. Explore implications of removing family obligations and activities and achievements, since schools manage different ways to collect that information. Recommended polling the 4-year institutions to determine how many use this information and if the information can be collected in other ways. And then 8 was education and testing. The entrance exam questions should all be optional. So a summary of that same information I just reviewed with you was sent in a report to the coordinating board leadership to review and consider next steps. So based on everything I just shared, are there any questions from the group and or additional comments that you'd like to add?
Hi, Jorge Dimas from
Laura,
Laredo
this,
College. Oh, I'm so sorry, there.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I will just make a comment as part of the committee as well. I mean, yes, I agree with Laura. It was super fun to do this activity. We should definitely continue doing it every year. Just to mention for those of you who also might be wondering about the residency questions, there's a lot of that information that it is pertaining to legal. So we advise that the language was changed, but unfortunately there's a lot of that we're not able to make changes just because again, it was already created by other committees and it has to go through legal. So just in case you were wondering, again, we made also those recommendations for the residency, just because again, we understand that 16-year-olds may not understand some of these questions. So
Dear new chair GV, I just wanted to say thank you to the committee because you definitely put in the time to make the review. And so I appreciate the time and effort that you put into that to try to help continue to improve ApplyTexas. So thank you to the 5 of you who spent time on that.
Yes, thank you all. And it was really insightful. And so we did walk away with a lot of great information. I did want to bring forth for discussion a specific question that has come to light. We wanted to know if there is it's a question under the family, under household and family information. One of the things that the committee did determine, the need for an F1 international application specifically. So that's something that we did put as that recommendation, or the committee did. So, but there's a specific question under household and then family information. And it is, if you have a child, please provide the following information. And it's got it listed. I think most of you are familiar with this question. It lists A, B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it breaks it down into child first given name, child middle name, child full legal name, legal last and family name, child date of birth, child country of birth, child country of citizenship, and child gender. So I did send this out to the advisory committee via email back in January. And one of the things that we kind of got sort of mixed understanding, and we really want to know if this is a question that can be or would be, we can consider removing from the application if it's not necessary. So with the committee, we did find that there are some institutions that do utilize it for international application as part of their markers for that. So I wanted to ask this committee whether or not they have any additional feedback, or if there's more any additional insight or impact if we were to consider removing this question. And I'll remind you that for some of these, I think the only things that are optional under what I just read out is the child middle name is optional, the child country of birth is optional, as well as the child country of citizenship. All the other of the A through G are required. So does anyone else on the advisory committee have any additional insight, or if there's any impact to your institution, we'd like to note that here.
By removing the question, would it result in having to update the EDI data file that we pick up from the SPEDI? And would we need to have a testing window opened in order to ensure that we can load our application files?
Renita, I think this is something, I believe, yes, but I wanted to confirm with you.
Yeah, this is something I will have to explore a little further, but I believe so. Yeah.
So what I jotted down is that the question is, would it need, if we were to make this change by removing these questions, would an update to the EDI file be necessary? And then you would need the opportunity to test. Okay, we got that. Anyone else?
So Laura Isdale, Collin College. I would prefer it to be an optional rather than removed altogether because we do use it for our international students. If you give me an F1 international student application, I'm open to removal. Also, though, in the spirit of we can't test, what's going to happen when you update our EDI file, including like even when we update all of our programs, like we'll have program and majors and all of those changes. And I currently don't have a way to test them until we go live. So anything that would change the current mapping, I would not be in favor of until we have a test environment created.
Yeah, I would just say that I very much agree with that. That's the main thing is the change to EDI and our inability to test it until the application goes live. So it could be made optional.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any comments?
Real quick, Claudette, that question is optional right now, correct? Or no?
That question is most of the items are required. The only optional parts of that question, because it's actually question 12, A through G. And so the child first name, child last name, child city of birth, child date of birth, and child gender are required. The optionals are the middle name, the country of birth, and the country of citizenship. Those are optional currently. So what the recommendation from the committee that I believe what we heard was that they want the opportunity to make it all optional. Anne Marie, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that technically the question is optional unless they open it up and then those questions are required. So I believe what you're trying to say, Claudette, is if they open it, all of them would be optional.
Right. That's the request. Well, I guess maybe the next question would be how many of you actually utilized the question by show of hands? So there are a few. And I do see it's mainly, is it safe to say it's mainly community colleges? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Okay, that's helpful information. This may be something, I'm not really sure how we can pose this question, but if this could be a vote in our next agenda item, that if the committee recommends that we recommends to our board for consideration, that we change this question to be an optional question for, like, if it is something that's utilized, that it can be all optional, that could be a vote in the next agenda item. Does that sound like a good course of action? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Then we'll go ahead and move this to the next agenda item. I'll put this in line after we have a couple of things that Ronit will go through, and then I will also be bringing forth to the committee, and then we can vote on that towards the end, if that works for the committee. Okay. Okay, well, I'll turn it back over to Dara.
I muted myself. Sorry about that. We are moving on to item number 6, discussion and possible action to adopt recommendations regarding ApplyTexas form and procedures. This item is for the ApplyTexas team to bring forth recommendations to the committee for feedback and discussion. This is the last meeting before the next application cycle, and the ApplyTexas team would like to discuss potential new features. So I will turn it over to Ronit again.
Thank you so much. Anne Marie, if you can
Yeah, you ready for me to share? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so for today, product feedback, we have two topics we'd like to discuss. First of all, we'd like to address requests for better documentation, starting with the EDI field mapping guide. We'd like to present you with our current draft and review it together and see if you can provide any feedback on our first pass at an EDI field map documentation. So if you can click on the link, Anne Marie, it should be.
I can definitely open it up. Just
Yeah.
I was sharing a screen. Let me get that.
No problem. Yep.
1 second.
So today we're looking at our first pass at a freshman application EDI. I'll let you guys take a look, and maybe Anne Marie can scroll down slowly and you can see how it's formatted. We just want to make sure that this really addresses the need. I know we've had a few requests for better documentation, so we want to make sure this actually helps you guys and provides the tools that you need for EDI support.
I had a question. This is Mary at Sam Houston. In the column C, where it's indicating, you might need to scroll up to one like a loop. So is that going to tell us like the code loop, and will it be sequential? Like I know some of these things go through and loop through and bring in loop 2, loop 3, and so on. I know I explained that poorly, but I think you know what I mean. Is that what that means?
Yeah, Anne Marie, can you confirm? Do you know? Are you able to confirm, or did I?
Yeah, that's what that
Yeah.
means,
Okay,
Mary.
Yeah, that's a huge help then, because we rely on an IT genius to know that for us. So being able as a layperson to see that is really great.
Perfect. Hey, Jocelyn, you had a question?
Go ahead,
Jocelyn?
Jocelyn.
Thank you. I just wanted to chime in because we're actually going to have a conversation about this today, to confirm some assumptions. So some of the assumptions that I had from like a first pass at this document was it would be super helpful to like spell out abbreviations. So there's a lot like current is abbreviated, residents. When we talk about permanent residents, that's abbreviated. So like spelling out more abbreviations, but I want to get confirmation from the group that like that would be helpful because there's already a lot of abbreviations in the EDI fields and the data that's transmitted. So having that element column really spell those things out would be helpful as one item. Um, Also, when it comes to like the address, if there is, a second line item, typically the apartment number might be on that item or whatever the house number could be included there. So like we spell out, what was actually included on line 1 and what was included on line 2 so that that's really clear. So there are a couple recommendations like that that I thought would be helpful, but just want to make sure like we confirm some of those assumptions.
So this is Laura Isdell with Collin College, and I may be the only person who feels this way, so feel free to the rest of you shoot me down. But I have genuine concern about having a single change to our existing file mapping when I do not have a test environment to ensure that I am able to effectively load those changes and not break that exchange of data. So I would not want to see a single change to anything until that happens, but that's just my personal preference. I'm really concerned about the impact that might have on our ability to load successfully those applications. And I already know I will have program changes. We currently have some custom questions that aren't still working. So like I just need things to work before we make changes.
Yeah, and just that's a great point. I think one clarification would be it's more of a description, not really impacting the data that would be transmitted. I just want to clarify that point. So no touches to the data being transmitted, but more so the description of that data so that it's really clear as to like when we are abbreviating terms, you actually know what those translate to essentially.
That I'm very supportive of.
I will second that. This is Mary.
I do want to chime in that this is something that's been often requested, and this is our first documentation in the new system. So we wanted to check this with you all to see if this is something that would be helpful, and if you had any, like Jocelyn mentioned, any recommendations. But yeah, this is ultimately the first thing, and we'll be continuing doing similar documentation. And that's what Ronit was asking, to see if this is the right direction we need to go in. So, or if there's any other recommendations.
Definitely the right direction, I think.
Awesome. It's great to hear, and also good feedback, Jocelyn. Thank you. We're going to continue iterating on that to make sure we're providing a valuable tool. But if there's anything else that comes up beyond this meeting, definitely let us know. And I'll move on to, unless there's any other
I will say,
comments. Yeah, go ahead.
also, Dara Newton, UTRGV, I also like the idea of eliminating some of the shortcuts or acronyms if that is like if that fits into that. I think as there's transition with teams, the more we can spell out and the more direct we can be to help support in transition, the better off we will be. And not always is it intuitive to someone. You would hope sometimes, but it's not always intuitive what the short or acronym might mean. It might mean something else to someone else. So I agree with like potentially building out and writing complete words or titles associated with things.
So Jocelyn, it sounds like yes, they want more of the spelled out abbreviations and more information.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely documented that. We're going to share some of these recommendations back with the tech team. So super helpful.
Thanks, everyone. So next, I'd like to solicit some more feedback on the admin portal. Specifically, we want to know how you use the portal on a daily basis beyond application and major configurations. So understanding what your pain points are, what your patterns are, to help us refine the tools and prioritize updates to reduce friction and improve visibility. We're especially interested in workflows that might be time consuming or repetitive. For example, how do you track applicants through the various stages? How do you, are you often exporting data for reporting? How to use the portal to support communication with internal teams. These are just examples, but yes, I'll open up the stage for your guys' feedback. But again, want to focus on all the tasks that are in your day-to-day work that don't pertain specifically to application setup.
Hi, this is Mary at Sam Houston. We use the admin portal frequently, at least once a week, if not twice a week, to download started not submitted applications for the purposes of text communications. For the graduate population, having the ability to see the major that the student is selecting is super helpful, because we do dedupe those because graduate and transfer populations often start applications and submit them for other terms. So they have abandoned applications. So that is a pain point. And we do like to text our students that have started not submitted. So that's a big one. And we also have programs that reach out to us that are having growth concerns, or maybe they're doing some digital marketing and they want to know their application volume change over time. So being able to find applications for a major submitted, you know, for a period of time a year ago and a period of time for the current cycle. That's a pretty common request for us. And then being able to compare that to another university for competition, because you know you have some of those other school data up there as well. So yeah,
right,
helps.
I am curious also if you have any workflows that have to do with already submitted applications, or do you only rely on the data you get through the EDI into your system?
Once we have the data, we use what we have in-house, either with our CRM or our banner reports.
Great. Thank you.
So Laura Isdell, Collin College. We used to do the applied not or the started your app not submitted, but I'm not sure how to still pull that data. We also sometimes used to compare our institutional data against other datas, but again, I'm not sure how to still pull that data. I don't see it. I can only see how to pull my own data. We routinely come in here daily. I would bet we're in here to verify data that's not mapping correctly within our system, or if there's discrepancies. So we might come in here to search for an individual application. The other thing that I used to have access to, but I don't think I do, is being able to search what other school questions are. So what other custom questions other institutions have, because sometimes we borrow their language, or just if we're considering putting a custom question out there, we want to look and see, was that something other institutions are also doing? So it may be that I just am not sure how to use the resource as well anymore. But those are some ways we used to use it.
And I don't want to volunteer anyone's time, but I'm sure if we need to do a deeper dive into your access, your account access. Oh, maybe we can set up some time to do a screen sharing and see maybe something is wonky with your account, or maybe we need to set it up differently. Maybe we just need to onboard again. I just want to make sure you have access to all the tools that you need.
Yes, Laura, if you'd like to reach out to us directly, I'd happy to set up that meeting with you to make sure your Gatekeeper account is working. You should have access to the additional items you mentioned about downloading the started not submitted, or being able to pull that other type of data. So I'd be happy to set up a separate working session to walk you through the admin portal.
Thanks, guys.
Christine from UTEP. I agree with Mary. I use the started application but did not submit feature quite frequently.
Michael Sanders from University of North Texas. We as well use that started not completed feature.
Blue Waterhouse with Lone Star College, we do as well. We typically weekly, one of our team members goes in and pulls them for a specific date range, and then those get loaded into our student information system, which feeds into our CRM, which then is able to send communications to those specific individuals, reminding them of how to complete and, other relevant information at that time.
Felicia Turner, Associate Dean, Dallas College. We use it as well. It's been instrumental in our Workday implementation. Sort of in the same way just mentioned, we pull it. We have a report that pulls it so we can communicate with the students who complete the application.
It's great to hear that this is a valuable tool. Do you see any gaps in that? Is there anything you wish you could do, assuming this works for you, within that tool to help support that workflow even better?
Yes, we had to merge bio demo data, first name, last name, email address, because the original report wasn't pulling that. And I was on the end of it. I kind of handed it off to our IT team to build a report. So if it is, I apologize. But the report that the BI that I received didn't have that information on it, and I had to send it back. Well, and they said that they weren't receiving it either.
Definitely look into that. And following up on for all of you, again, that question, do any of you do most of you do all the work with submitted applications in your own CRMs rather than in the admin portal? Other than I did hear about verifying discrepancies, but otherwise we're looking into mostly work within the CRM. Is that correct?
This is Mary again at SAM. The reason why we don't, we go out to ApplyTexas to verify the data as well, because we don't see the answers to all the questions that the students are supplying on the application, because we load into our student information system. So there's lots of questions that don't have a field configured in an SIS. So that's why we have to go out to ApplyTexas. So yeah, we do use it daily as well for those data verification when we have questions or concerns or discrepancies.
Great. It's very helpful. Thank you. There's no other comments. I'd like to thank you again. This was valuable feedback. Hope to keep iterating and improving as we move forward. And I'll pass it back to Dara. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ranit. We are going to turn it over to Claudette to establish, or the discussion to establishing a new subcommittee to review residency logic. Claudette.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the ApplyTexas team has been working to really better understand the logic and the residency section of ApplyTexas, and they'd like your assistance with establishing a new subcommittee, similar to how we did the core questions subcommittee. So we are seeking up to 5 volunteers from 2-year and 4-year colleges to assist the product team. We understand that this may be some other staff. You might not be the expert in this residency logic, but if you have other staff members you'd like to recommend that have that experience to make those recommendations, we'd like to get those contacts. You can email their name, their title, and contact information to me so that we can connect them. The goal of this subcommittee is to provide that discovery for the product team to improve the skip logic under that residency section, because we know that this has been something that has been explored for a while, even in the legacy site. I do recall there was a residency subcommittee back then as well that was really trying to nail this logic in the section so that the appropriate questions pop up to the appropriate individuals. So that would be the work of this subcommittee. So the subcommittee is likely to meet over the summer. We'll probably likely be able to start late June, but what we'll do is we'll send out a survey to any of the volunteers to coordinate the dates that you guys would be available. So I'll go ahead and if there's anyone here on the call that would like to volunteer, is eager to start digging into that work, you can raise your hand. Christine, I see you. Is there anyone else? Connie and Shelby? See, I'll take note right now. Christine, Dara, you too? Dara, Connie, and Shelby is what I have. Do I have anyone else that I missed? I have Christine, Dara, Connie, and Shelby so far.
Claudette, I had to disconnect my camera because I lost connection, so I'm just trying to keep voice. But I definitely want to give everybody an opportunity because I know I was on the last one. But if you don't have enough volunteers, feel free to add me. I'd like to help out with this as well. This is
Perfect.
I'm sorry, Maria from
Yes,
Amarillo
Maria,
College.
I saw you're waving your hand. And so, but yes, so I have you guys down. If there are any others, like if you have anyone else, remember there are opportunities for you to connect with those that might specialize in the residency at your staff that might be able to help you support that as well. So we want to get them involved. I know that offline we have received, even from Maria, received some information offline to give us some information, but I think having this subcommittee will really benefit the group to really nail this skip logic. And so I have Christine, Derek, Connie, Shelby, and Maria so far. So thank you so much. I will be emailing you or connecting with each of you offline so that we can establish a regular meeting cadence and get started on that work. So that is all I have for that. So I'll turn it over back to the co-chairs and we can revisit that one vote if you guys want to vote on that question here.
Okay. Oh, sir, go ahead, Laura. This could be your last. I'll let you have your last duty with the vote.
Oh, like you definitely can take it, but I think that I'll state the vote. I think the question or the vote, I think the statement that we would be voting on is there a motion to approve to make optional the questions related to parenting and their dependent information on the application? Claudette, am I correct? Am I saying it good?
So I think let's go ahead and be more explicit. It will be the section related to question 12 related to child. Let me see if we don't have a chat here, but the question is, if you have a child, please provide the following. And again, it's A through G. It's under the household section, family information. So just identifying that that's the specific question that we're voting on today, or you guys are voting on today, and what the actual recommendation is. So it's recommending, to your point, Laura, that this is the committee wants to make this optional for all. If that's what I gathered from the recommendation.
So we would just need a motion for that from somebody and a second, if there's an interest.
I'll motion.
Okay, that was David Barron.
Shelby Claridge, I second.
I didn't catch it. Who said the second?
Shelby Claridge.
Oh, Shelby. Okay. Thank you. So we do have a motion and a second to make that section question 12 optional on the applications. So we'll need to do a vote, and again, we'll vote by raise of hand. So for those in favor, please, within the screen of your camera, raise your hand, and we'll do a quick count. Okay, I think we're good. And then is there anyone who would like to show, lower your hands if you haven't, but show of hands for anyone who would like to say no, and maybe come off or come off mute and say no, so make sure we see your attention. Okay, then I believe the motion does pass.
Okay, we will take this recommendation to our leadership for next steps and consideration. And that's what we have done. Thank you.
All right, and agenda item 7, right? Okay, just making sure. It's just the discussion on potential agenda items for the next meeting date. So for anyone who will continue to serve on the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee, the committee will reconvene in September or October, and you'll begin receiving emails from the coordinating board staff in late August to determine those next meeting dates. The ApplyTexas team and coordinating board staff will continue to reach out to this group via email through August as need arises. But before we end the meeting today, is there any agenda items that y'all would like to put forward for the agenda for when we do reconvene in the fall? And again, you can always email Claudette or the coordinating board staff to ask for those things if nothing comes to mind today.
Yep. Jorge, I see your hand up, and Mary as well.
My apologies. I probably yes. No, that was not a question. Sorry.
No problem. Mary, did you have an agenda item?
I did. I wanted to put an agenda item for the next group coming in to look at a possible fall and spring second term, similar to what you have for summer 2, to address part of term applications and programs that have completely different deadlines.
Great. We'll note that, and Ronit, we might want to get a jump on what that might look like. So we'll note that for discussion. I also want to let everyone know that as Laura still is cycling off, we will have an open co-chair for a 2-year co-chair. So please, those of you who are going to continue next fall, think about the possibility of wanting to serve as our co-chair. That would require 2 years of commitment time. So we will make this opportunity available to any of the new members that are selected for the committee in the fall, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's going to be an open position. For those of you that are not familiar with the role, it really is working with the coordinating board, leading the meetings as Laura and Dara are doing now, and we do have a 4-year and a 2-year co-chair that sort of lead the meeting together and jointly. The other thing is that this individual will come and present to our board in October a summary of what the committee has provided. And that is all done with coordinating board staff and with my help. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we'll be seeking that 2-year co-chair in the fall. So I'll put that on the agenda just so you know.
And it's fun, so consider doing it. Maria, did you have any additional agenda items or anyone else? I just saw you light up.
No, I don't think. Sorry, I forgot that I was not on mute.
No worries.
And Claudette, will we add the residency review to that? That will be on the September or October meeting as well.
Yes, hopefully that the subcommittee will have that work completed over the summer and we will provide an update.
Good thought.
Yeah, I'm jotting that down now. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna close this section and pass back to Dara for item.
Okay. We are at item 8, which is adjournment. So today was really a great meeting. So thank you for all the conversations and items that we've addressed. Thank you to our committee members that are rolling off. We will miss your face on the screen, but who knows, we may see you back anyway. So thank you again for your participation. This concludes the business of the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee for May 29th, 2025. If there's no further discussion, do I have a motion for adjournment? Nobody wants to adjourn. Everybody wants to stay on today?
Megan brings from Midland College. I'll do a motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Jorge Dimas, I second motion.
Thank you, Jorge. And if all of our members will please say aye, if you are agreed to adjournment.
Aye.
Aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Fantastic. Anyone with a no wants to say no and wants to stay on? Okay. Motion passes. And this meeting is adjourned at 11:39. Thank y'all so much.
You.
Thank you.